Happy New Year! It's a new year and a new you, whether we like it or not. So the funny thing is, no matter what, in 1 year, we're going to be different. And that's just how it is. The question is, how? So I'm not going to be the typical, hey, New Year, these are the steps as far as what you need to do, because this is my belief. It goes like this, and I actually originally got this from Keller Williams. As you know, I'm a real estate agent, and I have been for 9 years. And one of their basis philosophies is be, do, have. And what that means is you need to be the person and do the right actions in order to have what you want. And so that's why I just really don't believe that we should focus on the having and trying to do these, just focus on that, because I think that's where New Year's resolutions kind of go astray, because really if we focus on the change in us, the being, starting at the root, then the flower will appear. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, even though we are going to change in a year because that is how life is, our brains do not like change. And this is the reason why. I've mentioned that we have like the lawyer and the lifeguard part of our brain. We have the lifeguard part of our brain that just wants to keep us safe. It's really trying to be helpful, but it's just trying to keep us safe. And how it does that is it reminds us of our fears and failures and insecurities, and basically encourages us not to grow, because as much as it's trying to help us keep us safe, it will go to the extent to put us in a little kid blow-up pool with a life jacket on and no water, because it tends to go to the extreme. And so that's the lifeguard part of our brain. And then we have the lawyer part of our brain that whatever we tell it, even if we don't even understand that we're talking to our brain, whatever beliefs we tell it, it's going to find evidence. And so those two conspiring sometimes can really lead us to not grow. And that's just part of it. If we understand, okay, this is the lifeguard part of my brain. It's reminding me that I don't know how to do this yet. And the lawyer part of me is reminding me that I'm not enough because I've told it that. And so we just got to work on our lawyer and our lifeguard in order to get them working together in order to reach our goals. But that's just how our brains are. And so that's important to know. But we are, even though we're designed to preserve homeostasis and we're designed to preserve ourselves, our spirit within us is different. Our spirit within us wants to grow. It wants to bloom. It knows there's something more to us. It believes in something beyond where we are now. And that's what we want to tap into. And that's where we want to grow. So let's talk about changing our being, like who we are. So I'm going to talk about 5 different things. The first thing is how we can change our being is we can heal our traumas. We can heal our lies. And by changing that part of our being, it's amazing how much less noise we have in our lives and how much more energy. And the funny thing is, I've been doing, this for years and changing it. And I just did a session recently. It's called Splunkna. And it's another way of basically processing emotions and all these different things. And just with that, I was like, wow, I could hear the volume all of a sudden go down. And I had just gotten used to my normal and didn't realize that, these subconscious traumas or emotions that were stuck were still creating noise. So the more work we do on ourselves and heal our traumas and heal our belief system, the more we can change and allow openness and expansiveness in our being and energy too. It's amazing how much energy those old programs are costing us. And so it's pretty cool. If you want to know a little bit more about this, episode 58 is basically about letting our triggers be our training. And that is so helpful because many times I used to be triggered and I'm like, oh, that's where I've got work to do. And I'm going to go do it. Set that time aside and work on from the triggers to the training. So I love that. So the question is, when we're changing our being in this area, it's like, how can you support your healing this year? And there's so many vast different ways, and I believe you're the best expert on yourself. And so it's really tapping in, like, how can you promote and support your healing, which creates growth? And there's so many different ways to do this. It could be a life coach. It could be doing the journaling work. It could be purchasing my Unravel notebook on Amazon and going through it. It could be EMDR. There's so many it could be adding meditation and allowing that to bring up some things, because when we're quiet, it's amazing what we can learn about like things that we need to work through. So it could be just adding quietness to your life so you can hear from yourself. And you're the best expert on that. And for me personally, I'm going to continue journaling, because that really does a lot. I do my gratitudes, my stars, but I also process, and I get quiet and ask myself, and ask God questions and just listen too. And that's really helpful. I'm also doing a little Spelunkna is what it's called. And that's a Christian healing that does a combination of like muscle testing and emotion code and EMDR and tapping all into one, which is super cool. So that's something that I've been really enjoying and thinking about adding to my practice, because I'm a life coach and a hypnotherapist, and I'm still trying to develop a better tool for trauma, because right now I don't take people that are saying that they're in, trauma, because I'm like, that's beyond my scope. So number one, changing and healing ourselves would be the first way to change our being. And the second one is embracing again God's love for us. Like, it's really, I think it's so hard to embrace it and understand it. The best I can help understand it would be just like how, and some of us, this is going to be hard to grasp, is just how a parent has this unconditional love towards a child. I really like, and no matter how you feel about like the Bible and Jesus, it's great information as we like look at the Bible even like that. Because I know people that read the Bible and just think of it as like, this is good information. I think of it as more than that. And we can, however we look at it, there's really good information in there. So Ephesians 5 talks about, I'm going to just read part of it, because it talks about like how his people need to grasp how wide, how long, how high, and how deep is the love of Christ. And really like thinking about thinking about how much God like truly loves us. He's not like above us thinking like, oh my goodness, you really screwed up, I'm going to punish you, or da 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 da. He does not view things that way. He is not the condemner. There are things that hurt us and that makes him sad, and it keeps us from being close to him, but it's more us like, distancing him, because it says that if we draw close to him, he's there, like he's going to be there. So just really embracing, he sees all of our crap, and he still has compassion and love and has belief in us that we can't even understand. So just like really imagining, understanding, and embracing that. There's nothing that he cannot forgive. There's nothing that we can say like, oh, this is so bad, you can't forgive that. And, I'm going to just write, you can't forgive that. I was talking to my husband the other day, and his brother was telling him a story about how he was talking to this guy and he could not forgive himself for some of the things that he had done. But my husband's brother was telling this guy, he's like, but you understand that, Jesus paid it all and he forgives you and all of that. And the guy was like, yeah, I do intellectually, but I don't, obviously, I don't, because I'm not forgiving myself. And he's like, well, write down the biggest thing that's keeping you, that obviously, God and Jesus, they didn't pay the price for you. Write it down. That is so bad. And when he thought of it that way, he's like, that's like so insulting to think that my crap is bigger than what the power of God and Jesus' love. And I thought that actually really affected him, as it affected my husband, just realizing that that's not how God works. He's forgiving. And when he forgives us and we can forgive ourselves, it is so impactful in our lives. It frees us. And that's why it's like super important. So the second one is just embracing God's love, universe, however you want to define it. There is a loving entity that cares about us. So getting in touch with that, even in this crappy world, because we've got a lot of crap too. Happy holidays! I wanted to make your season a little brighter and lighter, and so I'm offering two things for free. One is a relaxing meditation, and the other one is the BARF notebook, and that is a system for working through our feelings and our thoughts by barfing them out, sorting them out, and planning them out. Those are both for free on the website at livebrighter.info. So go ahead and go there and pick up your free gift to help support you this holiday season, and live brighter every day. Make it a great day. And then number 3 would be changing our inner love for ourselves. And I really feel like the progression of that is, first of all, we got to accept ourselves. And that's kind of what I was talking about, like with that guy that couldn't accept and forgive himself. It's like we have to accept ourselves and appreciate and forgive ourselves, and then encourage ourselves. And then we start to love ourselves, and we can start to delight in ourselves. But it's a process. It's a growth process. But really, like, kind of figuring out where you are at in the journey. Is it accepting and forgiving? Is it appreciating? Is it encouraging? Is it loving? Is it delighting in yourself? You can delight in yourself, and that's okay. It's good. Where are you at in that journey? And being like, hey, this year I'm going to choose to, because I've already accepted myself and forgiven myself and appreciate, I'm going to choose to encourage myself. That is going to be the year of encouraging myself. And so whichever you are in this process, let it be the next step. And so for me this year, that next step is really about, loving, delighting, and just trusting myself more. I've done a lot of work to clean up my triggers. And so now I'm able to listen to my body's responses as like direction. So it's like I can feel, if I'm starting to like close up or tighten up, that, maybe I don't want to do what's being presented, or maybe that's just not in alignment with me. And so really trusting myself. So that's kind of where I'm at in the lineup is not only trusting, but like thinking it is equal to my brain. Because, a lot of times I trust my brain more, but like really trusting my body to know actually more. Because that includes all of our subconscious, includes the Spirit of God, includes all things. And so learning that is vitally important. And we are kind of weird in Western society because that is difficult for us. Like we're very more cognitive and thinking and stuff like that. And we don't, whereas like, Chinese medicine, different aspects and different cultures have a much easier time. For me, it's been a little bit harder. And in our culture, it's just not something that we're like encouraged. So that's number 3, is just changing our inner love for ourselves, whatever stage we're at in that. And number 4, imagining. Imagine what you want. So if you think about like what you want to be in 5 years as you're looking at this new year, new you, it's like, okay, let's just go 5 years. What does that new you look like? What are you feeling in that moment? How do you feel with this new you? How does that new you dress? How does that new you respond? What type of confidence does that new you have? And really embracing that imagination is so important, because it's very difficult to create something we can't imagine. And that is the wonderful thing with our brains. So, and like, how does that new person, how do we show up? And I would say like letting ourselves imagine a few minutes daily, at least, if not like tons more, just imagining that person in 5 years, that person that's the new year, new you in 5 years. And what does that person like to act and behave, all of those things, and really get into that imagination. That is big. I really like, I was just talking about Ephesians 5, which is kind of, or Ephesians 3. I might have gotten this wrong. I think it's just Ephesians 3. But it really talks about that God, who is able to do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to the power that works within us. And so I think that's so important because we got to start by imagining it. This is super helpful for me in my goal setting or just anything I do because like I think about where I want to be next year. And some of the things I've been thinking about for myself is like, with my business, I want to be able to have clients in this next level of purchasing power and selling power that I have not had so far. So, who do I need to believe to attract those people? What do I need to do? So, I need to know that market inside and out. I need to be prepared. I need to be a person that has that marketing that is ready for that sort of client. I need to have the connections. And so but imagining who that person is, what she's doing, that future me, and all of that helps me figure out what I need to do and who I need to be. And so I use this a ton. Another thing that is important to me is in my health. I've decided to, I have a goal, strength weight. So basically I'm gaining quite a few pounds of muscle. I think we decided 10 pounds of muscle and losing 8 pounds of fat, which is a lot. And I hired a trainer because I have just that new me in a year needs some new tools. Because if we do the same things we've always done, we're going to get the same results. So I need to be a different person. And what does that person do? That person, in my case, needs a trainer. So I have a trainer. And that'll be great because I've got a nice level base as far as muscle and mass and all of that stuff. And now I need to go beyond that. So letting yourselves imagine, that is amazing. And the fifth that goes along with all of this is action. Because we can sit on a hilltop and imagine all day long, but we need to do the next right step, the next thing. And so action involves replacing, getting rid of things, habits, replacing new habits and habit stacking, but really it's a lot of it for me is what is the next right action or next right thing I need to incorporate and then doing it. So there's also in episode 50, there's belief stacking and habit stacking, and that goes into that a little bit more depth. But that is how we do it. So it's really this new year, what I want to ask you is what is the one thing or the few things you want to be different and why? What does it mean to you? And get really into your why. Why does this matter? And spend some time, when we spend some time looking at that is huge. Our whys are super empowering to us. So again, let's just review. So the 5 things in changing our being and changing who we are is healing our trauma, healing the lies we believe, all of that good stuff. The second one is bracing God's love and how high and how deep that is. Third is changing our inner love for ourselves, however we're at on our journey. Fourth is creating imagination of who that person looks like in 1 year, in 5 years, and really starting to put action to that. What is the next thing we need to do? And so fifth is the action and the new habits. And again, it's so much easier to stack habits than create new habits. And it's much easier to do this 1% at a time. So that's why I'm always what is the next thing? And the next step or the next thing that needs to be done. And that is how we can change ourselves from where we are to where we want to be, rather than being the new you in a year that you're yeah, I actually didn't like that change. I didn't like how I ended up. So I really like that Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest guys, it's interesting listening to him. He talks about how the best investment we can make is in ourselves. You would think as a big investor, he'd be saying, yeah, the best investment you made is in, this stock or Berkshire Hathaway or this. He's no, the best investment I made is into myself. And so the best investment we can make is into our being and who we are, because it's really, that's how we let our light shine. That's how we grow. And I really believe each and every one of us has something that's bigger, something that's calling to us, something that we're developing and that we're freeing up. And that is honestly my greatest joy. Is really my goal is to free you up and, let your light shine brighter, because that, I believe, is the greatest gift. You are the greatest gift you can give the world, and yourself in its fullness is the greatest gift you can give to yourself and to the world. So I just want to pause And I want you to just take a deep breath in and breathe out. And I want you to think of one thing that comes up to you, the next right action, the next right belief, and write it down and do some work with this. I believe in you. Have a great new year.